Okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 5:30 precisely.
Okay, Hobart Collis.
Here.
Jensen. Here. McConnell. Mekas.
Here.
Atkins.
Here.
Schwint.
Here.
Okay, the next item is the consent calendar. According to Robert's Rules of Order, we're supposed to have a motion first and then a second and then discuss it, but we normally discuss things before we get a motion. Anybody wants to make a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the consent
Seconded.
calendar as
Now-
presented or amended.
All right, now we can discuss it.
You
You
seconded.
need a second.
No, I did.
You seconded. Yep. Okay.
Got it.
Please. Okay, so it's seconded. Any discussion?
I just had one question for the chief on the use of force review reports. October and December refer to superficial injuries, but in November it just referred to injuries. Do you know, is that a different level of injury that somebody, like, is there a differentiation between superficial injuries and injuries? Or was that just a wording difference
I
from
think
one
it's
month
just
to
a
another?
wording difference, but I'll check on it.
Okay.
I have a question for the chief too. These policies, are these on the website?
We're working with communications to get some of them on.
Okay.
They're working on it. That's,
I mean, I see the general orders there.
many of them have been, when they're replaced, they're to be replaced, but on the website, but communications is the one who handles the website, so they're working on it. It is a working process.
Okay.
And we're closer to 2/3 done with the revamp, again, the 9-month process that we're doing computers into.
Sounds about right.
Any other discussion? Oh. We'll come to a vote.
Hobart Collis. Jensen.
Yes.
McConnell. Mekas.
Yes.
Atkins.
Yes.
Schwint.
Yes.
Item number 3, new business. And we'll cede the floor to what,
Thank you.
I have a question on this one before you get started.
Yeah.
Is this one that it would be acceptable to discuss in executive session, just considering the sensitivity of the kind of the identifying information and then kind of how that's presented to the
I think
public?
we can do it in open session and not specifically refer to any of the numbers.
I guess I have some questions I wouldn't be comfortable discussing in an open session just for fear that I just wouldn't be comfortable with that. So
Well,
if we could
Let's
do
do
that.
it both.
Okay.
Yeah.
we can do it again when we go to executive session, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was on my mind about it is, I know that when the chief's report comes out, it includes identifying numbers of an officer. As I understand it, those numbers are not connected to some database that the public has access to. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that there's no way for the public to, see a number if we include it in a report, to connect it back to figure out who the officer was. And what's really on my mind about it is, the chief's report is not a public record, but it goes to the complainant, and the complainant can do with it whatever they want.
Right.
And so I'm a little bit concerned about whether, because the chief's report includes those numbers in that report and it gets disseminated some way outside the board, if that's a concern for the board.
Would you?
Is that a
And,
question?
well, I just throwing it out there for discussion, and I mean, it seems to make sense to me to use the same numbers in the board's report as the chief does, as long as there's no way that the public's going to find out who it is.
Well, That's a good point, and that's something we could consider. But I will tell you, when a person files a complaint, they know the name of the officer because they name the officer.
Right.
And they certainly, nothing prohibits them from coming out later and saying, Officer X did this to me, and they could out them that way. But your point is certainly valid. There would be no issue really. This is the worst answer ever, but we do it that way because that's the way we've done it. But we could easily change it to Officer A, Officer B, Officer C. There would really be no, because internally we obviously know who the officer is.
Yeah.
But
Whether you go to A, B, or C, or numbers, it's the same thing. The number is not the badge number of the officer, so the number you assign is still anonymous.
it is anonymous, but it's there could be ways of someone figuring out because it's not a random number and the number stays the same. So
The number stays the same regardless of, yeah.
and again,
You'd have to have that other
you would have
information
to have
that,
all of those together,
to
but
put them
I
together.
suppose
Not
if
that
the
you
person
could,
wanted to,
but-
they could, and we could eliminate that by just not using those numbers anymore. I mean, if that's-
I don't know if it's a concern for anybody. I just brought it up in case you hadn't thought about that. And I know that, you got to have that magic decoder ring to figure out who it is and who gets the decoder ring. Probably nobody. So I don't know if it's a concern for anybody or not.
So the numbers that are currently used are assigned to an officer. So if there's another complaint that involves that same officer, that number would be used again in a different report. Is that accurate?
And I think probably getting into the territory where Dave didn't want to talk about.
Yeah.
Got it. As opposed to using officer A, B, C.
and then,
Because discussing this with Kelly, that's what she had said was that
That's
long ago it used to be Officer A, B, C,
right.
right? And then somewhere along the line it
Yeah.
switched to the numbers, or maybe it was during the. Was it you'd brought up during was it the Black Lives Matters? Because I put that in your packet, the information as to what you guys started, what went to council, what the results were.
They
Yes.
have
I-
recollection of when that changed.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would have to look. I don't have a specific recollection of it ever being anything other than the number in the chief's report. So I don't know.
think
Because, yeah,
it was
I just don't-
before, because my time was from back when Kelly was our liaison. I was on the board at that point in time,
Mhm.
and I don't remember the numbers
Okay.
at that point in time. I
Yeah.
don't know that I would have anything from that time period, but as long as Officer A wasn't always Officer A or Officer B, or it's gonna be Officer A and in every report to an extent.
Honestly, I think the reason we do it is because it helps the person writing the report keep track of who is who. But we're usually not dealing with more than a handful of officers, and we can go to CBEF. But if those are concerned about it, that's something we can certainly change. I can go back to my office and talk with the people who've done it before and see if there's some other reason that I'm unaware of. But in our internal tracking, we use their real names, obviously. So.
Yeah, a couple of points. You could assign a different number to the same officer depending on the case. So let's say in the case of number 21, you assign a number to the officer. There's another case that comes up with case number 25, and you assign a different number, but you know that in both cases it's the same officer because you go by the case. So you could do it that way, but I'm not sure this is a concern of ours. The concern should be, it seems to me, that of the city council and of of the police to protect the officer. You know, for us, it's a bureaucratic matter. You know, we make some statement on or do some judgment on the case, but the protection of the officer is your responsibility. However you want to do it.
Do you remember the union ever having an issue with that?
I think this is always, in my opinion, this is always controlled by kind of the city code and state law as far as the release of the names and taking that extreme caution in protecting those personnel issues. Which is why, the questions I have, I'd prefer to do in executive session. Because I think there's a benefit to having the chief's report match our report. It's just which direction we go to get to that solution.
I
We can
do
discuss.
agree that if somebody really wants to know, they're gonna. There's nothing to prevent someone from, say, an officer so and so and calling them out. They know who it is. You're right.
Well, I'm thinking of some other instances. Say someone files a complaint against Officer A. When we do the investigation, sometimes Officer B, C, and D get wrapped in, and the person filing the complaint has absolutely no idea who those people are. They either didn't identify them or they didn't even know they were involved in the call. So, I don't know. You've got me thinking about it. If I can't think of a reason why we use the number system that we have been using, I don't know why we would continue if there was some concern. And I get your point, Saul, that it might not necessarily be this body's concern, but it may be something that I should have been thinking about, or the city should have. But that is why we use those numbers, because you would need a decoder ring to do it.
Would it be fair to give you some time to do a little more looking at it and thinking about it, and then bring it back to the next meeting and, kind of have another
think-
discussion about it, about options and,
Right. I don't think I need to come back to you all to tell you that if I decide to change it or not. Then it's your guys' decision how you all are going to proceed with your reports, and that's completely up to you. But I would like to. Sorry to interrupt. I would like to go back to some of my command staff and see if there's some historical stuff that I'm unaware of. If there's some sort of reason that I'm unaware of that we're doing it that way. There's none that I can think of.
I recall, when we had this discussion back when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening, is what the board then wanted, and the council said no, was more access by the public to the reports or the internal records to show if there are officers that had multiple complaints against them. Not releasing a name, but if I see number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on 9 different complaints, the board thought at that point that would be something important for the public to know, even if we don't know who that officer is.
and the council at that point, though, said,
And the council said no, yeah.
Yep.
So, what got me to thinking about it was when we were discussing a particular complaint last month, and we talked about whether to include that number from your report in the public report. We decided not to do that, but then it made me think about the reports that you generate could get, backdoor released to the public through the complainant.
So far, what we've been doing is using the number you've given us. We have no concern about that number or those letters or whatnot. No, it is useful for us to make a decision, but the actual name of the officer is immaterial to our decision. And then you can have access to a record about the number of times. We could even ask you the number of times that particular officer was disciplined.
Well, I wouldn't share that with you.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're entitled to.
That's
the same.
right.
you
That's
can't be
why
careful about
the names are. That's why I redact the complaints, so you guys aren't privy to their name or number.
Well, and you I'm hesitant to even talk about discipline because you guys don't find out what the discipline was or whether it was a
Right.
suspension or something less or yeah.
Would you let us know what you might have found out next time?
Absolutely, yeah.
That'll help us clarify that.
Does anyone else within the city, I think I know the answer to this, but does anyone else within the city review an unredacted report of yours, whether from another office in the city or anywhere else?
City Attorney's Office would on certain occasions.
Okay.
How about Stephanie?
HR. Stephanie wouldn't see my reports, but complaints are filed with her, and she does her own investigation. Certainly, Stephanie runs our Human Rights Department.
And so my question, my purpose in asking that question is, I think there are some members of the public who have a concern that if there's an officer repeatedly having founded complaints, which that is hidden, swept below the rug in the police department, but the fact that that's reviewed by other departments outside of the police department make me much less concerned about the continuity of a number following a single individual in the public reporting. I think by city code, we have to give deference to the police chief and the city managers. So if they do that review as part of their process, I don't know that that's really necessarily a concern to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's important that our whatever system we use to identify an officer in the chief's report, that same system we match.
Mm-hmm.
God knows we have enough trouble sometimes writing reports. Let's not start going down the path of different identifiers. But I would say the same thing. We know that the report would be, city attorney, the human rights, other information, and knowing that process within city government. If there's somebody that's repeatedly having an issue, that's not just gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's one of the reports that is generated for me is the early warnings as personnel on pews, where we track all sorts of things to see if even unsubstantiated claims or use of forces, amount of use of forces. That's one thing that I track. It's a part of my job. But.
Yeah. So great.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the discussion.
There's no old business, so we'll move to number 5, public comment.
Mary McCann. And this is not a complaint. Anything along those lines, it's a frustration, a community frustration, and something that I've certainly heard from a number of people. With all the talk about ICE and trying to having the state come down to expect that community policing should be taking over that duty. There's a lot of conversation about that. And having come from a family where I had an FBI agent, NSA agent, many people in the military, I understand what the military-industrial complex is. It's not what we have in community policing. ICE is very much an errant group. It doesn't necessarily feel the need to have proper warrants that are fully completed. And personally, I'm very concerned with the community policing, which is about building long-term relationships, but that's really protected. It's about building communities that help each other out and are not afraid of the police. But ICE, everybody's afraid of them. They just walk in and they walk back out again with no concern whatsoever about any damage that they leave behind. So that is a conversation that's going on, and I don't know anyone who thinks that our police should be ICE agents. And so I certainly hope that there will be a way to protect that from that expectation from the state, which is Polly to me. That's all.
Any other member of the public?
Here to learn.
Okay. Staff information, so this would be the time to put an item, an agenda item for the next time. And I don't know, maybe we should do that formally, but I'd like to hear from the chief of police next time about that identity issue. Any other items for next time?
That probably will stay on old business.
Yeah.
On the next meeting.
Okay.
Just because we discussed it tonight, it's just a follow-up would be an old business next time.
Schedule of meetings, the future agenda. April 8th, May 13th, June 10th, July 8th, any conflict?
There's a chance that I will need to travel for work on the 8th, so I was going to ask if the 15th could be considered for the
April or
for the
July?
April.
April. 16th.
Count.
That'd be the 5th April, just the following week.
Will that vacancy be filled potentially?
Yeah, because they're appointing for it on April 1st, at the April 1st council meeting.
Okay. Just I was thinking about our vacancy, quorum or not quorum.
I'll be gone both those days, 8th and 15th for
Okay.
work travel, so if one's better for you, it makes good sense.
So,
So we have a quorum, we'd have a quorum still.
on the 8th, yeah,
Yeah.
we would. You'd be gone on the
I'll be gone on the
16th.
8th as well. I'm gone the 8th.
Oh, on the
and
8th.
15th, yeah.
You're
I'm
gone
gone
both.
both
Yeah, we'd
those
have-
days.
I might be here the 8th, but I can definitively commit to the 15th. I cannot to the 8th. I could be here. I just can't commit to it yet.
Well, what about the 15th for you, Colette?
Nope, I'm on work travel.
That's the, yeah, okay,
But that's
yeah.
if he can be here, I mean, for sure, that makes good sense, right? As opposed to.
Yeah, I can be here
where
for sure on the
I'll be gone for
15th.
sure and maybe gone.
Yeah, it would be nice to have as many people as we can. What about you?
I'm here. Yeah.
Patrick,
It's fine with me.
Todd.
Sorry.
Well, if there's no objection, well, 15.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Make a motion to change, I make a motion to change the date from April 8th to April 15th for the next meeting.
Second.
Got one in.
I
Roll
did.
call.
I tried.
Hobart Collis,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McConnell, Meckes,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Schwint.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Discussion.
$5:54 adjournment.
The chair calls the meeting back to order and announces the time. 6:27.
I'll make a motion to accept 2408 as amended.
Second.
Second. Oh, we got seconds.
So David did it first.
We have to go there.
Okay,
We have to go
McConnell,
there. And then you get, then you
Meckes,
get it.
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Schwint,
Yes.
Hobart Collis,
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I'm so excited to do that. Gosh.
All
Motion
those
has
in
been made,
favor?
seconded. Any discussion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Let's have discussion.
Meeting adjourned,
I need to follow
6:28.
this. Very